Hi friends, I Srinath Pandav welcome you all to CSE Specialist. From today onwards, we are going to cover the polity subject in detail and we can see the polity topics in that. Before moving to the polity subject, let's have a doubt clearance. If freshers are watching my video, then they can refer first the standard books, then they can watch these videos, or else they can do it vice versa, that is first they can watch the videos, then they can cover the standard books, so they can have the comprehensive notes of it. If non-freshers are watching my videos, what should be their approach? They may have already the existing notes, so they can take a sheet of paper, they can add the important keywords or important points, and they can add this sheet to the existing notes. Now let's see how to make these important notes or keywords. First, take the A4 sheet, divide it in a 70 to 30 ratio or 75 to 25 ratio. In this sheet, you have to fold this sheet, that is in the ratio. Then you can write the topics here. For example, if we see the historical background, then the topic heading should be historical background. Then there are acts, regulating act, then there are few points, then you have the Pitt's India Act, you will get the few points, and after that Charter Act, then you will get the few points. Why should the sheet should be in the 70-30 ratio or 75 to 25 ratio? Because you can have the value addition here, or whenever you are analyzing PYQs, you can note the PYQs directly here. For example, a PYQs may have arrived in 2023. Just write 2023, whichever exam it is, CSE. If it is in asked in CSE or CDS or something, then note of it like this. This should be your note making strategy. Now let's dive in the topic. The today's topic is basic terminologies. Before moving to the polity subject in detail, we should have basic knowledge of basic terms. For example, what is the country mean, what is the nation mean, what is the state mean, and etc. So basic terminologies chapter is very important to understand the polity subject in details. First, the terminology is country. Country is merely a geographical expression. It just deal in boundaries. For example, India. If we say India is a country, just its geographical boundary, we can say it as a country. Then the second terminology is nation. Here, the people or group of people, they come together due to the emotions, and these emotions may be cultural emotion, ethnic emotions, etc. And these peoples are on the common identities. Common identities like religion, language, etc. So if you want to call a something as a nation, here the people or group of people should be based on the emotions, that the emotions may be cultural emotion, ethnic emotions, and they should have the common identities, that is religion, language, and others. Nation may be made up of several states. Example, Pakistan before Bangla liberation has two states, that is West Pak and East Pak. Pakistan is a nation, and before Bangla liberation it has a West Pakistan state and East Pakistan states. So here you may ask, what exactly the state means? It is a political concept, and it has the four elements or tools. For these four elements or four tools is, first they should have the territory, then population, the third tool is government, and last one is sovereignty. if a country or nation to be called as a state, it should have territory, population, government, sovereignty. For example, if you take India, it has its own territory. Territory includes states, UTs, islands. This is what Indian territory consists of. Then India has its own population, and India also have the government which is elected or representative of government, and India has its own sovereignty, that is it takes its own decision, not depend on the others for its decision. These are the four elements that comprise the state. And why the state concept is important? Because it has been asked in the UPSC CSC exam in 2021. The next terminology is government. Government is a functioning arm of state. Now we have seen that state has four elements, that is population, sovereignty, government, and territory. So government is just a functioning arm of a state. What exactly the government does? It performs the functions such as law and order, welfare programs, and others. Government is not a permanent body. It might change every few years. For example, in India, it is a 5 years term, or before that only a government can dissolve, but through no confidence motion. In government, let's see the types of governments. There are various types of government. First is democratic type of government. Democratic type of government, here we can say that it is of the people, for the people, and by the people. That is, it shows the popular sovereignty of people. That is, people are the power. Then comes the dictatorship. Dictatorship is of more of authoritative type of government. For example, military dictatorship. Anything the military says, it will be the final and binding. Then comes the republic. Republic means head of the state is elected and not hereditary. Here head of the state is elected implies, example, India. The president post is open to all. But in UK it is hereditary. It is not a republic type of government in UK. Then other type of government includes aristocracy. This aristocracy is ruled by the landlords. And it was prevalent in medieval times. That is, landlords ruling the territory. Then comes the anarchy. Here exists no government. Then comes the monarch. Here there exists only one ruler. His statements are binding and to be obeyed by the people. For example, North Korea. It is ruled by Kim Jong-un. Now we have seen the types of government. India falls in the Republican democracy. That is, head of the state is elected and it is of the people, for the people and by the people. Government, that is popular sovereignty. And UK falls under the monarchist democracy. Here there are two heads. Head of state is hereditary and there exists head of government. In the above slides, we have seen about the nation, country, state, government. In government, we have seen the various types of government. Now, let's look how the states are classified. First, the states classification includes on the basis of religion. On the basis of religion, a state can be classified into a secular state, then theocratic state, atheist state. Secular state, here government doesn't have any official religion, and in theocratic state they believe in only one religion. Example, Bangla, that is they believe in Islam. This state, no belief in religion itself. Example, North Korea. Whenever we talk about the secular state, there exist two concepts. One is Indian secularism and Western secularism. Indian secularism and Western secularism. Indian secularism, there exists a principled distance. That is principal distance between religion and government and state. In Western secularism, there exists a complete separation. In Indian secularism, there exists a role of state in religious matter. Here, there exists no role of state in religious matter. Indian concept of secularism is termed as the positive concept of secularism, and Western secularism is negative concept. In Indian secularism, here state can aid education institution in religious minorities, but here state has no role to play in the religious minority in education. So these are the difference between the Indian secularism and Western secularism. Second classification of state, that is on the basis of function. In the earlier slide, we have seen that on the basis of religion, that is secular, theocratic and atheist state, and on the basis of function, a state can be classified as welfare state or socialistic state, and the neoliberal state or capitalistic state, Western state or socialistic state. Here government looks on the do's and don'ts of the people, that is, for example, providing the social assistance. Example, you can say that MG Narega provides the 100 days guarantee work. so that government is intervening in the do's and don'ts of the people. Here aim is to just people should have the all the basic facilities. And in neoliberal state or capitalistic state, here state job is just to give the security, especially the law and order and defense. The welfare is not the responsibility of state. The welfare should be taken automatically. For here, capitalistic state example is USA and welfare state example is Soviet Union, or what we can today say it is a Russia. These are the classification of states based on the religion and based on the function. Next terminology is equality and versus equity. Equality is, we can define it as a absence of discrimination. Here the outcome may or may not lead to justice. When it comes to the equity, here there exists a discrimination in positive sense. For example, affirmative actions. Affirmative actions such as reservation. So affirmative actions are provided to the vulnerable sections so that they can have the opportunities to have better standard of living. This is what the equality and equity difference is. Here outcome leads to the justice. Next terminology is justice. It is a process of ensuring fairness. Ensuring fairness regarding the resource distribution, violation of rights, dignity of individual, etc. So when it comes to the justice, there are various types. For example, procedural justice. Here following the procedure to provide justice. Other justice include substantial justice. Here justice achieving outside the procedure. And these are the types of justice. Now coming to the next terminology, that is rights. Right can be defined as it is a claim of an individual against the state. These rights act as a protective layer between the individual and authoritarian. The classification of rights. The classification of rights includes, one is natural right. Here the source of this right is nature. By birth you will have the rights, that these rights are the natural rights. Today the natural rights are turning into human rights. There exists a relationship between natural right and human right. We can say that human rights are rights, those are the natural rights in the embryonic stage. Next classification of rights include is divine right. The rights that are derived from the God is called as divine right. The third is legal rights. Here the laws made by the state is known as legal right. Then comes the moral right. The moral exists in case of the individual and society. So these are the rights which are on the moral conscience of society. Then comes the fundamental right. These fundamental rights are given by the states. The difference between legal right and fundamental right is all fundamental rights are legal rights, but all legal rights are not fundamental rights. Then another difference between fundamental and legal right is, in legal right you are protected only from the arbitrary executive action and not the arbitrary legislative action. But in fundamental right you are protected from the arbitrary executive action and also from the arbitrary legislative action. Then comes the human rights. As we have already discussed the human rights during the natural right, these are the rights that are in embryonic stage of natural rights. This is associated with the human dignity. There exist three obligations to perform the human right, that is respect, protect and fulfill. These are the three obligations that needs to be followed to have the human right. Next terminology is democracy. Various scholars have various views on the democracy. For example, Plato said that democracy is not a best type of government. And Plato's guru Socrates said that the ship should always to be driven by the specialist. But British PM Winston Churchill has the view that democracy is best type of government till another alternative exists. So when we define democracy, it is of the people, for the people and by the people. Hence it is more of popular sovereignty. Hence the people are the power. When we see the democracy, the features of democracy includes civic participation, that is people's participation, transparency, that is lack of opaqueness, then accountability, then come the consensus, responsibility, equity, inclusive and rule of law. These are the features of democracy. In democracy, there are various types. One is direct democracy and indirect democracy. Here, in direct democracy, people are directly involved in governance. For example, Switzerland. And this direct democracy has four components. Initiative, that is people initiating laws. Then referendum, opinion of people. Then plebiscite, opinion of people about territorial issue. Then recall, people calling back representative within tenure. As of now, India follow direct democracy only in Gram Panchayats. Otherwise, India is said to be as representative democracy. That comes under the indirect democracy. In indirect democracy, it is a representative democracy or formal democracy or electoral democracy or political democracy. So before going to the other terminology, why India adopted indirect democracy? There are various reasons. Few reasons include: one is huge population, hence implementing direct democracy was difficult. Then there exists a diversity in geographical terms, political terms, economic terms, and various terms, social terms, etc. And if India would have adopted direct democracy, it would lead to delay in decision making. Hence, India adopted direct democracy. Next, coming to the very important terminology, that is constitution. Constitution can be defined as a compact document containing set of rules and regulations to run the state affairs. And this constitution limit the government. And when it comes to the constitution, we have written constitution and unwritten constitution. For written constitution, example is India, and for unwritten constitution, the example is UK. Here written implies it is the document compiled in one and product of Constituent Assembly. And when it comes to the unwritten constitution, it is not a product of Constituent Assembly and have different sources, that is not compiled into one. Then other important terminology includes separation of power. This concept is given by the Montesquieu. Then in separation of power, there exist three organs, that is executive, legislature, and judiciary. The work of executive is to implement laws, and that of legislative is laws, and the work of judiciary is ensuring fairness. In Indian Constitution, Article 50 that is DPSP deals with the separation of. Why this separation of power is important? If a person has all the power, for example executive, legislative, judiciary, it will lead to the dictatorship or despotism. Hence the separation of power concept is very important. So friends, these are the very important terminologies that we have seen. Let's have a recap. So in the terminologies, first we have seen the terminology of country, that is a mere geographical expression. Then we have seen the terminology of nation. Here it is a group of people coming due to emotions and have common identity. Then later we have seen the concept of state, where it has four elements, that is territory, population, government, and sovereignty. And this was asked in the CSC, UPSC CSC. Then after the state, we have seen the various classification of state on the basis of religion. Here we have seen the secular state and theocratic state, and on the basis of functions, here we have seen the welfare state and neoliberal state or capitalistic state. Then we have seen the government, that is functioning arm of state. Here we have seen the various types of governments, that is democratic state, democratic government, dictatorship, republic, aristocracy, anarchy, and monarchy. And apart from this, the various keywords discussed includes equity versus equality, then justice. Here we have seen the procedural justice and substantive justice. Then comes the rights, and here we have seen the various rights, for example natural rights, human rights, divine rights, legal rights, moral rights, and fundamental rights. And apart from that, we have seen the democracy. Here we have seen the features of democracy. Then we have seen the terminology called constitution. Here we have referred the written constitution, unwritten constitution. Then the last terminology was separation of power. So friend, these are the important keywords where you have to know the polity subject in detail. In the next lecture, we will come up with the historical underpinnings. So friends, provide the feedback on this lecture, and for more updates, join the Telegram channel that is given in the description box. Thank you friends.